Welcome to the 199 podcast with HVS. I have two co-hosts today, Josh Barnett, one of the owners of 199, and Dan Woods, our blue blood basketball historian. My name is Aaron Meyer. On today's episode, we're going to get into the GOAT discussion and decide who's next in line for a seat at the table. But first, Billy Packard.
Isn't it amazing when Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot, 9-inch game inside that three-point line? It's all there. Nice move by Steve Fisher here. Turn it into the 19-9 game.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, sir?
What's going on?
Big Dan in the building. We finally got the three guys down here to do a pod together.
Three-man weave.
I know. We're finally in the same spot at the same time. And we also have Shuby down here with us, too, who's coming in on a later play. They can't see you, Craig. We're just talking here. But he gave everybody the peace sign for everybody that's listening. So we wanted to get everybody down here and get a couple pods together and going with the three of us in the same place at the same time, which seems harder and harder to do these days. So appreciate you guys coming down.
Appreciate being invited.
It's exciting. I feel like I'm a staple now.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
You're on the Google sheet, so that's a big. That's a big.
You
I
are.
had to set up. I had to put a new Gmail account in, or a new password.
You tried to set up like a bootleg 99 account. You ain't made it there yet,
no,
buddy.
I'm out.
Yeah, you haven't made it there yet. Maybe sometime. So, anyways, the last pod that we did, Dan and I, we kind of got off on a tangent and started talking a little bit more about not necessarily the GOAT debate, because it really isn't a debate from the three of us sitting here as to who is the GOAT. Meyer?
I think it's up for a grab still.
I'm with you.
I mean, it's not locked in. That's why it's a debate. I mean, for a long time there, it was Jordan and don't even bring me in anyone else.
Sure.
And so I think, the door's open.
But that's not the direction we're going today.
No.
That's not the direction we're going. So what started as kind of Dan and I talking about it and going down that path a little bit led to me and Meyer almost getting in a fight in the hallway talking about it the other day at school. So we were kind of talking about more or less like the torchbearer or the face of the league, I guess is how I would best set it up. And then we kind of got into the discussion of who's next. But in that, we started with MJ to Kobe, Kobe to LeBron, LeBron to question mark. Within that discussion, me and Meyer got into it because he wasn't really feeling that Kobe is part of that lineage. And that's where I almost lost my goddamn mind.
Oh, my God.
Which is crazy because none of us are big Kobe guys.
None.
And that's where
Why are you defending him then? I don't understand.
He's got to be in the. It's just. To me, it's tough because, man, he won 5 titles. He was a Laker. Like, it's just, he was the face of the league for a while. Like, and he was the bridge between Jordan and LeBron. It has to be.
But
go
the
ahead
face
and hit
of
him
the,
with
but the
it,
face
Meyer.
of the league isn't the same as at the table with those guys. Like Iverson was the face of the league. He's not at the table. Like that, there's a cultural impact, and because you play in the largest market on the most popular team in the history of the league, is separate from being the best player in the league.
Go ahead and tell him. Who did you put in there?
Tim Duncan. I think there's that unassailable. That
It's
he should
super
be there.
interesting, right?
We looked at that. Did you bring the stats with you?
I wrote down a few.
Because Barnett was a little bit like, I don't know. And then we got in the
Well,
Wikipedia.
I wasn't. I think I was more – honestly, I think I was more face of the league type than I was,
Yeah.
best
That's
player.
a separate argument, though.
Right, exactly.
I mean, no one's going to pick Tim Duncan as the face of the league.
I honestly think that's where we
obscurity.
got our signals crossed on that, and I didn't do a
Maybe.
good job of communicating that it was more face of the league for me in that torch, and I just was flabbergasted that you don't even put Kobe in the discussion. But we did agree on Kobe probably doesn't belong at the table with MJ and LeBron.
No.
Dan?
No, not even. But back to that argument, who, with Tim Duncan and Kobe, who had a better career?
That's what we started getting into a little bit. Go ahead.
What do you mean, who had a better career? Do you really think that Kobe had a better career than Tim Duncan?
Why are you looking at me when Dan's the one that asked the question?
I mean,
And I haven't been in
'cause
on a discussion either where you guys were both
I think
in on it.
I mean, I think that my sort of legacy thing is like the Spurs are 20 years in the playoffs. Like it's not just, some of Kobe's peaks maybe were higher than Duncan's, and I think that's maybe not in question, but it is that the consistency is so difficult. And that's why I think the door's open for LeBron too, because if you take one game, yeah, I'll probably take Jordan and maybe Kobe just because of the ability to create and he would kill himself to just win that game to try to take over that game, whereas Duncan always played his role. I don't know.
So the numbers are pretty interesting, right? Because we went and we looked at the numbers, and it's interesting to me. The thing that I would want to know from you guys is when you're trying to comp NBA talent. Dan, you and I, and I think Meyer, you too, we always talked, you can only go 80s, 90s, 2000s.
Pretty much,
right?
Can't go before that.
And probably our basketball
some
depth of knowledge and fandom and stuff, just because of our age, is right in that.
I didn't
wheelhouse.
watch enough of those guys
Correct.
to even comment.
Correct. On I've always looked at it as all NBA teams. That's been a big and MVPs. So I think MVPs are very important.
If that's the case, then Kobe was kind of lucky to get handed one.
Yes, and we started looking at who won one in those, who won those in his kind of reign.
Yeah,
and it was really interesting. I haven't hit you with the biggest Meyer bombshell yet, but that's coming. That's coming.
But back to Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's one of 5 Hall of Famers on the Spurs during his run. So, and he played with arguably one of the greatest coaches and organizations of all time, in Greg Popovich. So it's kind of guy played with 5. He was one of 5 Hall of Famers.
So I'm gonna make Meyer's argument for him.
Okay,
tell me
thanks.
if I'm wrong, Meyer.
I will.
Meyer's gonna tell you that those guys were Hall of Famers because of Tim Duncan. It had a lot to do with it, and he's gonna say on the flip side of that, Kobe did not make anybody better. That's going to be your argument.
And when you talk about Kobe would die to go take over the game, Kobe would die to take over the game and hit the last shot.
Yeah.
Like Kobe wasn't going out there to die to make a great pass for a guy to get an open layup. Like, it's just a difference of mentalities.
Yeah, so you want to hear the quick comparison on Duncan? Because I think the All-NBA stuff is just fascinating to me. And the MVPs. So Duncan has 2 MVPs, right?
He does.
He won 2 and Kobe won 1. So Duncan doesn't run away from it in the MVPs.
But again, MVP's a little bit of popularity.
It is.
I think top 3 and top 5, and especially the baseball guy,
that'd
if
be
you finish in the
interesting
top
to look
5
at.
of the MVP race, like you're always in the discussion.
So basically, Tim Duncan had 15 All-NBA selections, 1 through 3. He had 10 first teams. Kobe has 15 total. He has 11 first teams. So it's really comparable.
Yeah.
Really comparable.
And my argument for that was that the big men position in the West during Duncan's time way more competitive than the guards in the West. Like Kobe's like just put that in Sharpie, and every year he's there. There's not really who is he competing against at shooting guard?
Which is kind of interesting because he's a scorer. If your argument holds, I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with it, but if your argument holds, it's fascinating that he didn't win more than 1 MVP.
Yes.
Because those numbers are going to be there all year, every year.
I don't know.
I don't either.
And he is a true volume shooter.
Yeah.
And he
but I think
that too.
I think that's why, because MVP is more than just like the numbers. It's making your team better, and he didn't always do that. So I think other guys got that credit, that Steve Nash narrative, where he's taken this team that shouldn't be that good to what looks like a great team, while Kobe's scoring 35 points a game, but his team's barely making the playoffs.
You could argue that Kobe's last 2 titles are incredible because of who he took with him.
Yeah.
He's going to argue. He's going to argue.
I love Pau Gasol.
But Pau Gasol, don't even put him in the same level as Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan,
David Robinson,
and Kawhi Leonard. Like that's that's your 5 Hall of Famers. Like if you take away, okay, I'll give you Shaq all day. You can't argue that one. But Pau Gasol's a couple years, so you can even trade Pau and Kawhi because they were only there for short periods of time. Take those guys away. Lamar Odom was Kobe's best player besides
6th man
Pau.
of the year.
Oh, don't give me 6th man of the
Here
year.
we go.
Ginobili's a 6th man of the year and also playing with the Hall of Famer at point guard.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were, I'd prefer some of the Lakers players over, but I know what you're saying. I mean, certainly Ginobili and Parker, obviously, but again, that's part of the reason why they had the more sustained success. But they were able to slide those guys in. I think Kobe had opportunities to have some of those guys. the Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, guys that they would try to bring in with him, and he just rubs people the wrong way. He's harder to find teammates.
That's kind of the Jordan effect
Like
too,
the
though.
Spurs-
That was
like-
the knock on
Like he'll
MJ.
fight you.
Yeah,
right.
like the
He'll fight
Spurs.
you.
The Spurs could just bring those guys in, and they were just better there all of a sudden. Like Steven Jackson shows up, and all of a sudden he's Captain Jack, and
Right.
or-
Okay, can I
Big
make
shot
Yeah.
my Kobe statement here?
Sure.
Because I meant to make this during our Kobe pod after his tragic passing.
I know.
And I
Still
did,
crazy.
It's still crazy, and it's awful.
Doesn't seem real.
It doesn't.
It
It really
I
doesn't.
loved. I didn't get to talk to you guys. What did you guys think of all the All-Star stuff with him? Did you get to watch any of that?
We really did a pod, so we didn't.
Yeah,
watch
we were
much
doing a
of it.
podcast, so we missed it. But here's my Kobe thing, and this is the time that I loved Kobe, was the Olympics, and I think that's important to me. It's important in the argument for Kobe because of this reason. Those guys were the star of stars on those teams, right? The Redeem team,
Yeah.
and the other team. So
08
08
and
and 12,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in the star of stars, or he was the star of stars on that team. So when the ball needed to go somewhere and it was crunch time against Spain and the gold medal, this is not an all-star game, this is not an all-star MVP.
His boy Powell.
I am sitting there, and me and my dad, I'll never forget it. We're not Kobe guys. We're watching the game, and we're like, get the fucking ball to Kobe. Like, get him the ball. And then, like, up into that point, in his
It was
career,
08.
yeah, and
Yeah.
up into that point in his career, I would walk away from games like fucking Kobe,
Yeah.
And then this time I'm like fucking
He
Kobe.
did feel like a security blanket in that. I mean, yeah.
So I know that LeBron was at a different point in his
Yeah.
career and shit, but still at the height of it all, I needed Kobe to have the ball in his hands to win us a goddamn gold medal.
But I don't. Was that part of his game is not in question? I don't think that's part of the argument. Like,
Well, okay, so my point is,
I don't know.
who
I guess
did
I don't know where you're going with
my
that.
point is, who did everybody look to give the ball to when everything was on the line, when they're all perennial all-stars, MVPs, etc.?
That's different though. That's part of that mentality.
But that's what makes him
his
great.
legacy is the
That's-
mentality, but
right.
not the overall greatness of his game though.
It's the
That's
double-edged
different.
sword of him, though, too.
I don't want it. I don't want Kobe for the whole game. I want Kobe for the last 5 minutes. Like
Give me
I,
Kobe.
I'd
He's
rather.
gonna give me his best.
I
That's
just-
the one
I
thing
can't
about
disagree
him.
There's
more.
a bunch of guys I'd rather have for the entire game, and then you can bring Kobe in for those last 5 minutes to because it is gut check time. That's
I
like
just don't agree.
Like imagine if you could combine like Giannis's first 3 quarters with Kobe's last 5 minutes. You'd have that'd be the perfect play.
You want him to morph into like a 6'11"?
No. I'm just saying like the way.
Neanderthal
No, I'm saying the
Avatar
way.
beast.
No, I'm saying the way he plays, or James Harden right now. Like he
What?
plays. Listen, the first 3 quarters, I'd rather have James Harden.
get
Get
outta
the
here.
hell
I'm
out of here,
done.
Meyer.
It wouldn't even
no,
be close.
hey, turn your mic
No,
off.
no.
Get
It
out.
wouldn't,
Get
it
out.
wouldn't even be close because he's more efficient. He is, putting up buckets, getting my same numbers in a more efficient manner, and then he doesn't have the mentality though to finish the games. That's where I
How
want.
much
that's
is he
where I want
giving up
Kobe.
in
Let
those
me-
3 quarters to his man?
not
Kobe
as-
would
not
Kobe
as-
would
not-
defend.
Not the 39 minutes.
So to the
Not
same
39
point that you
points.
talk about how Steve Nash was made teams better, like he also that is a lot to do with how they play and the coaching style, like how they do that. The Rockets under James efficient for James Harden is. I don't know how he's efficient. Like he's so bad defensively, and I can't take him.
Let's switch topics a little bit because we don't want to get into just a player bashing. That wasn't the point. There wasn't.
You're making me not. I'm not just bashing Kobe though. That's the thing. Like I want to be clear. I think he's great. It's just we're comparing him to Tim Duncan.
No, I was on the verge of bashing James Harden. That's why I cursed.
Well, yeah, and I want to make it clear. Like again, I'd take Kobe the whole game. I'm just saying, like I think his excellence over everybody, what you're talking about in that 08 Olympics, is in that specific skill. Like that skill, that
I agree
mentality
with you.
is a talent. Like people underrate mentality as something that's a talent too. Like they just look at the physical gifts of a player or their athleticism or their shooting. Mentality is a separate gift that not everybody has.
I agree
and he
with
has
you
that-
on
had
that. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
But I still want him for the whole game. Right?
He's gonna
That-
give me a
that's the
good
only
I'm
rub.
not saying I won't take it for the whole game. I'm just saying I'd rather.
Okay,
I'd
but
rather have.
but
somebody
here is
else.
something that you did say to me.
Okay.
And I want Dan's input on
All right.
this, so we'll let Dan just
Bring
talk.
it.
So this was the one that almost ended up in us throwing punches at each other's throats. He told me he would take KG over Kobe.
No.
And that KG would have worked just as well with Shaq and they would have won just as many championships. Dan, the floor is yours.
No. And I love KG.
Me too.
I absolutely love KG. But we fall in this love affair with KG when he played in Boston because of how it was set up for him. And I think he's extremely talented, and a lot like James Harden. Like, they're just numbers, you can't fathom how crazy their numbers are. But Kevin Garnett, I mean, you can't. Kevin Garnett, whenever we talk about MVP Kevin Garnett, when he played with the Celtics and he played with two other Hall of Famers, kind of morphed into what he needed to be. But he was just a stat stuffer who could never, ever, ever get it together in Minnesota.
Well, they got to the Western Conference Finals, so I don't think that's not getting it together. I mean, again, he's got Latrell Sprewell out there. They had a good team. That Sam Cassell Sprewell team went pretty far. And, I mean, again, I think it's who you're playing for. You could say he's playing in Minnesota too. Like Kevin Love put up a bunch of numbers and didn't go anywhere, and all of a sudden he's got LeBron on his team and he's winning a championship and going to the finals every year. Like as soon as KG had those two guys, then they're going to the finals every year or coming close. They should have won a second championship had KG not got hurt because they were better that year than they were the year they won it. But he gets that leg injury and then it's over, you know.
And he's one of the. I mean, he's in there in the discussion. KG, Duncan, and Kobe are the three guys in that.
But KG was never better than Duncan, so he has to be taken out of the equation. He really wasn't, and I wanted him to be better than Duncan so bad just because I liked his energy more and he was more flashy. You know me, I like the flash.
I think it's hard to say that.
But as I get older, I love Tim Duncan, and Kawhi's cut from kind of that same cloth. Like everything those two dudes do or say is hilarious. I mean, it's amazing. Like, I wish I could be that funny with saying that little.
You guys ever seen the train set gif from Tim Duncan?
No.
So there's a picture of him when he's wearing worst dresser in NBA history, without a doubt.
MJ, hands down.
Oh, that's true.
Hands
down. I'll get close to you on that one.
Yeah.
So somebody said, what's Tim Duncan going to do with all his money? And somebody says he's going to buy $80 million train set. And it's unbelievable.
You have to send it to
us. But the problem with the KG over Tim Duncan is, what if they switch spots? Like, that's my argument too with that.
That's a good point.
Because if KG gets to play with Robinson and Ginobili and Parker, and Popovich is as good as there is as an NBA coach. So I think that
situation matters.
Your argument about he got to the finals in Minnesota matters. Yeah. I think we look at the Duncan.
The Western Conference Finals. He didn't get to the finals.
Sorry. The Western Conference.
Clarify.
I think we look at the Spurs. And that is kind of how the Manning-Brady argument, where Brady has Belichick, and like, what are they without each other? Where Manning, when he leaves, his teams absolutely fall apart. So I think that argument, where you're at and the organization you go to in those professional leagues, matters a ton too. Because KG and Duncan switch, I don't know how much different of a career you have.
For reference, because we thought it would be fun, 2010 Book of Basketball, Bill Simmons comes out. And so we went back and looked at those ratings. I don't know if Meyer sent an email that didn't have a link to it, by the way.
It did when I sent it.
That's a damn lie. I had to look it up. I had to go all the way through Google and look that shit up
We've
myself.
had network issues at school all week this week.
Budget cuts.
It was at lunchtime, don't worry.
So 2010 Book of Basketball, MJ won. For the guys we're talking about here. Yep. MJ won. Tim Duncan 7. Kobe 8. Right behind him. This is 2010. This is before Kobe's 2010 title.
Impressive.
And I think he goes back and he like redoes it.
He's doing it right now.
Well, I know he's doing it right now, but he came out. Like right after that finals and said something like, "I would move Kobe to here" or something. I couldn't find where he said that, so he probably didn't. I just made that shit up. LeBron 20 in 2010, which you got to think he's way up there.
Well, he's 2 now. He's redoing the Book of Basketball, so he's at 2 now.
2, and that makes total sense. I don't even have a problem with that, to be honest. And then KG at 22, and since 2010, pretty much nothing's changed. Yeah. So it's always just kind of interesting. But the reason for our pod today was to find out who's next. I
don't even think it's a debate, and I've thought about this all day. Not a debate.
Okay. Well, I fucking beg to differ.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You guys are crazy. No, because we're going from LeBron to now, right? We're going to who after LeBron is the guy.
Correct.
So who is the debate? I don't even think it's a debatable, and I won't say.
I know that you're going to say the exact same dude that Meyer thinks.
For sure.
Go ahead, put it out there.
Kawhi Leonard.
No, wrong.
No,
I'm shocked by that.
Kawhi Leonard all day long.
How old is Kawhi?
28.
That's crazy.
So the difference is, because I've looked at it, you can make a bunch of different arguments, but I'll make Kawhi's argument now. He wins in San Antonio, and he's LeBron's kryptonite. Goes to Toronto, which has never won anything, wins a title there, and dethrones the Warriors. Now, granted, there's a lot that happened. I'm
Warriors
with you.
light.
I understand that. And then he's going to go to the Clippers, where no one's ever won except for a Mr. Sedano Sterling's anything. And he's got a chance to win there.
I would appreciate if you stopped pointing at us when you talk.
Because you guys, I feel like you guys were coming at me. So I'm
No, I was just looking at you. There's a
Kawhi-
big difference.
And
Josh
Kawhi
has
is
a
20.
focused stare.
Kawhi is 28,
The
which is a
eyebrows.
long enough. He's 7 years younger than LeBron. And everybody else is closer to LeBron's age than what you think.
All right, Assistant Principal Meyer, the floor is yours.
Well, so we're saying next we're taking LeBron off then. Is that what we're
yes,
saying?
correct.
gone.
Yeah,
So he's not in the debate.
he's already established himself as that guy.
But I'm
But who's
I'm
taking the
curious.
torch?
No, I'm curious to say. It sounded like you're saying Kawhi has taken it from LeBron now.
gotcha.
That's where I was curious to establish.
Yes.
Because I mean, if we're leaving him in, I'm gonna say still him.
All right,
The
let's
face
take
of the
him out.
league, torchbearer for sure. I mean,
All day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's in L.A. He's
For sure.
Because
the
he's,
face of
I mean,
basketball.
and last year he didn't really have a chance to do. He was injured. And
I
then
think
didn't
we
make
can
the
all
playoffs.
agree on that.
Like he's
Yeah,
he's
for the most
clearly
part.
back this year. So I think that this year Kawhi's got to. If Kawhi were to take it from him this year, then it could be Kawhi's.
so you're saying Kawhi has to beat him in the playoffs?
He does
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That would
he
be
has
enough.
to.
Doesn't matter
Yeah, 'cause
where
if-
it's at.
if
Doesn't matter
LeBron-
if it's first round,
Doesn't
second
matter.
round.
If LeBron beats him this year, it's still him. Like you have to say. Like, I don't think it's.
You might not have to say, but I
Well,
do tend
mean,
to agree
you
with
could, You could try to come up with. An
So go
argument,
ahead.
but-
Yeah, I want to
Hit
hear
him,
that.
hit
But
him with yours.
I'm saying next. I think Giannis is next. I mean, he's got two straight MVP. Gonna have 2 straight MVPs. I know last year he, flames out into Kawhi in the Eastern Conference Finals, but that was really their first run. I want to see this year. If Kawhi beat him this year, I could, but I think it's his to lose because he's gonna get that MVP. They're gonna go to the finals unless something funky happens, and then all bets are off. If those two can make it to get to the finals, I think that's how we decide it, right?
Giannis needs coffee. He can't close. Can't shoot.
I don't know what that meant.
No, coffee's for closers, and he doesn't close. And he
I
can-
love coffee.
and
Late
he's
at night, man.
and he's completely different.
Yeah.
He's completely different how you defend him in the fourth quarter. Like how you talked about, I want James Harden for the first 3 and I want Kobe for the last. Giannis in that All-Star game when it's everybody out there, he can't score.
He's also the worst GM of the All-Star Game draft
Yeah, I was
of
gonna
all
say
time.
he might not have been able to score because he could have had Luka and Jason Tatum and a few other
I
guys.
get not wanting to take James Harden because you want guys to pass it,
Oh,
but
man, I
his
know.
roster, you can maybe argue that he is the 7 worst players on the team
Yeah.
in the draft on his team.
Well, the good news is his real team roster is perfect for him, so he doesn't have to worry.
Meyer
about that
thinks they're
regular
winning the
season.
championship.
I think they're winning it.
Bledsoe's their biggest issue too. There,
That's what I thought.
I mean, he's playing great this year. He did struggle in the playoffs last year, but it's his first deep run. I think that the playoffs are a different beast, and it takes time to. It took Jordan reps and that team reps before they got to the finals. They got knocked off by the Pistons for 2 straight years. If you would tell me that now, I'd been like, what?
Right.
I would never expect that. The playoffs are a different
It's
beast.
a process.
It takes
for
reps.
sure.
And
Absolutely.
they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost to the eventual champs, who, by the way, the Raptors are way better than even I thought. Like, they've got a better record now without Kawhi. I don't think they're better, but they've got a better record this year without him than they had last year with him.
Playoffs are going to be interesting.
They are, but I think they still have a shot. I think they're legit.
To come out of the East?
I was talking with Joe about that. He felt the same way, like that they could be.
yeah, because there's a team in the East that's 15 games under 500 is going to finish 8th, and that's their first run. Like the East has been bad for a long time, but give me your 4 best players in the East too.
No.
I mean, who beats? You know what I mean? Like there's zero competition in the East anymore. They're gonna. I mean,
Don't look at me. I don't know anything about the NBA. I was waiting for Meyer to
The
respond.
only team that they have to beat is truly the Raptors, and I think the Raptors are good enough to where they're going to give them a chance.
Well,
Sixers?
I like the Sixers. I like
In the playoffs when
I like-
when it's all
I like Boston too. I think they're legit with
There's
Tatum and Kemba.
Tatum's
I'm okay
been
with
playing
that.
awesome lately.
But give me your 3 best East players.
But to me, so for me, I just look at entertainment value of the NBA.
yeah.
So, like, those matchups that you just threw out, 76ers, I kind of like watching them dudes. I just do.
Embiid's hilarious.
Celtics, I kind of like watching them dudes.
Kemba.
Raptors, I want to see if they can defend the crown. Like, that, there's a lot of interesting storylines, even if you're saying the East is weaker than the West, which we probably all agree on. There's still some interesting – Meyer doesn't agree. But there's still some interesting matchups, and I'm all there for the entertainment. And then whatever Shuby bets is always entertaining to me, too.
Watching him lose.
So did you agree with the Giannis?
Yeah, who's your guy then?
Well,
settle the
So
debate.
how old is Giannis? 24, 25?
he's young.
25,
Yeah,
I
I don't
think,
know.
is what I looked up the other day.
I didn't really have a dude. Like my guy was KD pre-injury.
You know how old he is?
30, 31.
Be 32 this year.
Right. I didn't know Kawhi was 28.
It's crazy, isn't it?
But I guess the reasoning for my pick was you started to see that torch being passed in those 2 finals, and I know that KD was on a stacked team, but he's what made him stacked beyond belief too.
Curry won 2 MVPs, and no one will tell you that he was better than Durant during that run. No one.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that fucking Curry probably deserved one of those Finals MVPs. You could have done. He had one game that was a little bit low. But he was really good in the last Finals that they played, or the one that they won.
Yeah, because they gave Durant one of them, where it was kind of
the
like,
second one.
yeah.
It was the second one. First one there was no debate. But Durant hit the 2 biggest shots in both of those series, and that was the difference.
He pulled up on LeBron when he
same spot, same spot. But he had outplayed LeBron in that, and I know his team was better, so I always felt like LeBron got a little bit of the shaft in that because it wasn't apples to apples. But KD's the truth, man. The dude's legit.
I think his run's over. He's on the wrong team.
I
now.
said pre-injury though too.
Yeah, wrong team, wrong way. Kyrie's out for the season already. That's going into next year.
So
that was the wrong guy to team up
guy.
with. Yeah.
Who likes him? That's the problem too.
Kyrie.
Yeah.
Loves himself.
Flat earthers.
Yeah. So
it's a big community.
I was
out there.
going
Get
back
on
and
board.
looking at trying to figure out like who's the next guy. And Giannis is obviously a good pick because he's young, like very, very young.
25. We
Yeah.
confirmed it.
So Steph is 31, will be 32.
Yep.
Durant's 31, will be 32. So you have a hard time because LeBron's 35 and 17 years in the league, 15 of them he's been a top 3 player, which is just a stupid run. So I was trying, and then when I pulled up Kawhi, I was like, he's got to be 30, right? 28, and he is the best player in the league if you want to talk about two-way guys, and can go get it. So the difference now is he can go get buckets. He couldn't go get buckets when he was in San Antonio. So now he's the one guy that can check LeBron, I think.
Meyer tried to go get a bucket in the church league last night, ended up screwing up his Achilles.
Just retire.
Not my fault. I would have if I blew it out. I'll tell you what I was talking about. I was having some flashes. I was like, Barnett's gonna hold a retirement ceremony for me down here. Lay some roses at my photo.
So who else deserves mention? You got to mention Steph, right?
I went young. No,
You have to
can't stay healthy. And
change the game. though.
James Harden.
Oh boy,
You're not. You are.
boy.
You gotta be a James. I can't get it. You.
I mean, he was averaging 39 points a game. That means something. But the other guy, that's closer than we thought, is Luka.
Yeah, that was my guy.
It's not your guy. Not in this podcast. It is that man's guy.
Really?
Did
through.
anyone think that he was going to lead his team to the playoffs this year? No, averaging a triple-double, 29 points a game.
You got the Luka T-shirt on? I bought you.
I should have.
So
Should've
I thought when you
I almost
went,
wore a Kobe one because I knew where your argument was headed.
when you get rid of Giannis, because Giannis is an easy the 25-year-old. When you go, you have. So I think there's 3 young guys, like young guys. Luka, Trae Young, and Zion. We have no idea, but he changes it. He's just a different guy.
You can't argue with me against James Harden and then say Trae Young. That guy is the worst. He's me out there on defense. Like,
he pulled up from half court last night.
He's the worst defender I think I've ever seen in the history of the NBA. I don't think I've ever seen anybody worse at defense. Like, he's offensively, he's great.
Hold on. What would the score be if Harden played Trae Young, and it was it was alternating possessions, and the first person that got to stop
dominate Trae Young.
Listen, you didn't let me finish. Stop talking over me. This is a podcast. We're supposed to take turns.
I'm just saying.
Three's hard too.
It is. We're doing pretty good though. Much better than I thought. So here's the deal: Trae Young versus James Harden. Alternating possessions. First person that gets a stop wins. What's the score?
Oh, a lot. 1,000,000 to 1,000,000. Yeah. Neither of them wants to.
They both pass out from exhaustion.
Would, yeah. But James Harden wins.
You may be right about Trae Young, but he's young and maybe he does play defense on a team if they're ever good. I'm not saying that. James Harden refuses, like absolutely refuses when even when he's in the playoffs and like, hey man, I got to get a stop here. Like he won't do anything.
So I have one interesting story to kind of close this out because
Okay.
we're probably about at our time limit. So, and we got Shuby in here waiting to get this next betting pod going. So the story is I worked Alan Henderson's basketball camp up at Brebeuf in Indianapolis when I coached there. And so for lunch, we would all go down into the coach's room or whatever, and we'd all eat lunch together. And so it was all his old high school coaches, middle school coaches, stuff, people that knew him real well. And so he was playing with the Mavericks at the time, and they just got done with the playoffs where they beat T-Mac and the Rockets. They won the championship run, but it was a couple years before they won it. And so, it was all these Indiana high school basketball coaches down there. And basically people were asking, like, how good is Dirk? Like, how good is that dude? And Alan Henderson just shake his head. He's like, you guys have no idea. And being Indiana high school basketball coaches, they made the same argument. But he don't play no defense, right? That was the rhetoric. He doesn't play any D.
He's underrated, though.
Listen. This is not your story. This is mine.
All right. You got into Dirk bashing there. I had to jump in.
No.
Okay.
This
good.
was coming
You're
from
praising. You're
Yes,
good praising.
exactly.
Okay, go then.
This is coming from the coaches because
right.
they're Indiana basketball, a two-way player. You got to play D. You got to do
Got
it
it.
all. We've all been in that system, right? So he's like, you guys don't understand. We don't pay Dirk to play defense. We pay the 4 other guys on the team to play defense for Dirk. Then we give him the ball on offense and say, go play offense for us. And I thought that was super interesting because it's just a different animal, right? Because in Indiana high school basketball, you want everybody to defend, everybody to play, everybody to pass. And even in college, But in
James Harden's coach is Mike D'Antoni, not Bobby Knight.
Right.
Like
The NBA
D'Antoni
is
doesn't
just
want anyone to play
The
defense.
NBA is just a role league.
Yeah.
You play your
7
role.
seconds or less. That doesn't have
Exactly.
anything to do with defense. That's get shots up.
And everybody's cool with it. The coaches are cool with it. The other players are cool with it. It is what it is. We pay you this money to do your one thing and do
Clint
it well.
Capella got paid.
What did Allen Henderson get paid for? To defend and rebound.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that. And he made enough money. Holy hell. Shoebridge just walked in with a tight-fitting shirt on and just screwed up my entire train of
your
thought.
brand
All right,
representative?
time out. So I'll ask this: the 3 guys, James Harden, Kobe Bryant, Dirk, who is in there going? Who is the best scorer in that group?
This is going to surprise you.
No, I think I'm with you on this.
Harden.
Okay.
You weren't with me.
Yeah.
Nope, I wasn't.
I'm going with Harden, too.
I'm going Dirk.
Dirk was an animal.
Because Dirk, when he won the title over LeBron,
Yeah.
I don't know how you that stretch he was.
It's hard because if you're talking playoffs, then it's again. I think you're right because
And I love
Harden
the
has
NBA.
to stop disappearing
He
in those
does.
pivotal games,
I know.
and then he'll get a
I'm
big pass.
thinking
It's
just,
the LeBron effect that we've given people like that.
Yeah.
Like Giannis is now 25 years old, and if he disappears again, we're like, oh my god, I can't win.
Not Meyer. Not Meyer.
Nah.
Yeah,
I love Giannis.
He's headstrong on guys. When he like Harden and Giannis,
You can call him an asshole, Dan. It's fine. Nobody listens to this
pretty
anyway.
terrible. Like and subscribe, please.
We need more listeners, man.
I want to encourage people listening to give us a rating and review. And if you've emailed or texted a link to one other person, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Like beyond appreciated.
Yeah, like I need to put food on my table tonight.
EVSC's making cuts out here. We might need this to pay out.
Editing that out.
No, we're not. All right, well,
All right.
boys, I appreciate you guys coming down. That was a lot of fun, and we'll get down here again, hopefully next Friday, and do some more.
Thank you for listening to the 19.9 podcast with HVS, the High Volume Shooters. For more information, check out the blog at 199.com under HVS. And while you're there, pick up some of the best basketball apparel on the planet. Until next time.